Me? Well, I used to consume them religiously, not as much anymore. But Samantha got me on Shameless Mom Academy. So I like that one. Wellness Lately. A meditation for women. Okay, that's the one like I listen to all the time because I do meditations before I go to bed. I just really like guided meditations. Armchair Expert.
It's called Meditation for Women?
Yeah, she has a bunch of different ones. So she has like the overall, it's the meditation for women, and then she branched off to there's like a nighttime one, there's a morning one, and I'm not sure if she added a third one. But I've had the opportunity to hear her speak. Katie Krimitzel, she was interviewed by Sarah Dean for Shameless Mom Academy, and then she also joined us for Sarah Dean's like conference thing last year. So she just, I don't know, she's really good, I feel like, at what she does. And I always tell people, like, if you want to get into meditation, like I feel like a good person, especially if you like the guided, because anything you can think of, she's got a meditation for that. Like when you're losing your you know what, yep, she's got a meditation for that. When you are full of self-doubt or you just can't sleep, like you're up in the middle of the night. And so any of those things, like you can just go click on her thing. You do have to fast forward. She has ads now. So I just fast forward it like 2.5, 3 minutes to the start of the meditation. And I found that to be very, very helpful.
Awesome.
Which I absolutely love, Sarah Dean.
Yeah, I'm in her momentum group. Her like.
Oh, what's that all about?
So she started a few years ago a subscription kind of like mentorship group. So I got in right away. So I got in at a way discounted rate. And basically it's weekly group coaching with her. So there's like set like topics every week. At the end of the month we do like sharing our wins for the month, planning for the next month. And then, like there's like a Facebook group and stuff. And we do group. She used to try and do it more regularly, but a lot of us got to the point where like, I can't read like this much. So now it's like occasionally and stuff. So that's been really nice because I haven't been listening to her podcast, but I stay up with that kind of stuff. And obviously most of my goals and things always have to revolve around my business. I have like some like personal stuff, but it's mostly business stuff that I focus on with her.
Yeah. My personal favorite podcast that I listen to, I would say the most, is anything Gary Vee and Jenna Kutcher.
What was the first one, Deb? Gary Vee?
Gary Vee. Gary Vaynerchuk. But he just goes by Gary Vee. And it's all about like business with no BS.
And Jenna Kutcher?
Yep.
Okay, so mine is not a business one, but my favorite is called Terrible, Thanks for Asking. It's by Nora McInerney. And of all the podcasts I've listened to, she just like her voice, and she's funny and she's self-deprecating. And basically she just interviews people who have had really shitty things happen in their life. And I don't know if it just hit me during the pandemic to know that I wasn't the only one having crappy things happen. I think I started listening before that, but I don't know. Every episode is so varied and so interesting, and just, about human lives and human natures. And it's not always like a happy ending. Sometimes it is, sometimes it is. It's just the story. And they are just well produced, well spoken, and very interesting. And I absolutely love them. I listen to them with my son, strangely, my 15-year-old, on the way to his shots appointments. But we save up for them. We don't listen to them in between. So that one has just been super interesting.
Nice. I'm gonna have to check that one out.
Yeah. I think it's a National Public Radio, and I had heard about it on another one that was National Public Radio. But I just love podcasts. I want to love audiobooks, but every time I listen to one, I can't get into the voice. So to me, it's like a substitute for books. I would, love to be listening to more books and have more time to read. But for me, it kind of bridges the gap.
You know what?
And I understand.
Oh, go ahead.
I understand the voice thing because when I go on Audible, I always test out the book first. Because if I can't stand the voice, I'm not going to finish the book.
Yeah.
And for Audible, because I normally am just listening to like personal development type stuff on there. And I found I love when the author reads the book. Like
Yes.
I currently just started listening to it's #IMomSoHard. They have a YouTube channel. Oh my God.
I love that.
Yeah, it's hilarious. And, right before that, Anna Kendrick, her book is called Scrappy Little Nobody. So I just finished hers, and she reads it. So it's great when you've got even like, especially when they're actors and reading their book.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely going to check out that meditation one you mentioned, Sarah. I do Insight Timer every morning.
Mm-hmm.
I have like a 700-day streak, and I've been doing it for a couple of years, and it just has been so life-changing. But never can have enough good meditation sources.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of going into our topic today, I personally can touch on how to start a podcast, which I know is not exactly, I don't think that was anyone's interest. So I'll just kind of briefly go through that. And then I do have like something that I've written out before of how to start a podcast in 4 easy steps because it's free and it's easy. And then I can also share why you might want to use podcasting for your business as a way of free advertising. So not owning one, but using somebody else's platform for your business. So just very, very briefly on how to start a podcast is I personally use, it's called Anchor. Like if you Google it, it's going to come up with the dish company that has like all the dishes, Anchor, but
Anchor
it's like Anchor FM or something of that nature. So it's completely free and you just record on something on your website or on your computer. Most computers, if you search it, it'll have some type of recording thing, or you can download Ocean Audio, which is also free. And then you can edit your audio right then and there on Ocean Audio. So then you just like save it and you can upload it onto Anchor. And Anchor has everything looking very professional. It will also add your podcast to like iTunes, like Apple Play. I don't know if that's the exact same thing. Sorry, I'm new to Apple. Spotify, and then various other like platforms so that your podcast can be like stumbled upon easily from more than just your audience. How to actually get guests. I personally will reach out to someone who I think is going to be a good fit for my business and my audience. And I'll ask them, hey, do you want to have a quick, 45-minute conversation with me? Before the podcast, I will write out specific questions for them that we're going to go over so that they can kind of prep for it, so that everything is well prepared before the actual recording.
So you give them the questions to kind of mull over.
Yeah, exactly. So that it's not like all over the place, like, what are we going to talk about next? Like, we already know. And then if we get in a little lull, just go on to the next question. And it's okay if we, go off of that trail and start talking about something else, because then we still have something that's going to bring us back to the main topic. So it makes it like super, super easy, literally 4 steps to starting a podcast. I will say that like my podcast has been listened to internationally. I've had it for about a year. I have a couple hundred like regular listeners. my podcast personally is nothing special. I mean, it is like, it's having real conversations with fellow business owners where they literally spill the tea and share their tips and tricks and secrets, which is the special part of it. But I'm saying, like, I don't have any big recording studio. I really don't edit them. It's very like, here's what I recorded and put it out there. So I know that someone who really, really wants to do podcasting seriously could do a lot with it. Any questions on that part before I switch to why you might want to have a podcast for your business, or why you might want to be a podcastee? Okay, so on the side of why you might, hi Kitty, why you might want to be a guest on someone else's podcast is because it's free advertising. Literally, it takes like 45 minutes of your time and it's out there forever. And then it also gives you credibility when, you know, you are reaching out to other podcasts, or just you as a business owner as well, because you are the professional. And if you're being featured on someone else's like podcast or their blog or their YouTube channel, like, doesn't matter what it is, like, those are all free avenues. They're able to advertise your business and you are the professional in that area.
Okay, so here's a question. What would be your dream podcast to be interviewed on?
Either for Jasmine Star or Jenna Kutcher.
Okay, Sarah?
Like in business wise?
Anything.
So I don't know. There's so many that, and especially that like I'll listen to, because I have listened to, is Jenna Kutcher's the Gold Digger?
It is, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I have listened to hers a few times. Keep Your Day Job. I have liked that one, and I know that was one of like Samantha's like favorite ones that she always told me to listen to. And so it's the Carl Lowenthal. It's on F***CK your brain. So definitely don't listen to it with kids around. But what I like about, they're very short things, and it's all about like changing like your thought process and things. So it's stuff that can definitely help you with like your business and your personal life. She has a lot of great topics that she's talked about. But like I said, one of the things I do love about hers is they're short.
Yeah. I like bite-sized.
Yeah, those like hour-long stuff, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's going on forever.
Yes.
I know, I always have to chop them up, and then I forget what the heck was going on when I come back to it.
Another thing that I just thought of is, all right, the Dream podcast, if you could be on anyone's podcast, this is the one that it would be, is start game planning for that podcast. So before you're reaching out to, you know, the littler podcasts that are leading up to that one, start thinking of like having a one sheet for what topics would you be good talking on that you are the expert in. On that one sheet, having your other accolades, so other things that you've been featured on, make sure that you have a professional photo on there. And also a brief explanation of why would you be a good guest on their podcast? Or even, and so that would be a good one on a one sheet of like what your expertise is, but when you're reaching out to them, actually know something about their podcast and what you love about it. Because I do get emails where they're like, I want to be on your podcast, but they've never listened to it.
Yeah, I saw in the guide too, when I briefly was able to look over it, it's good to be on one that you love, but also you can poll your audience and ask them what they love. So you want to get more of your audience, not just what you love. And so then obviously, like you said, Deb, you would want to go and listen to, you know, whichever one you're aiming for and get a feel for if it's a right fit. And then if it happens to be something, you know, you like and is a good fit and also attracts the kind of people that would be clients, that's kind of win-win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going down to the questions that they had on here.
So Deb, when you do your podcast, do you just use the audio on your computer? You don't have a microphone or anything fancy?
So I do both. I'm not partial to one or the other because my computer audio is like pretty decent. So sometimes I'll do it with the microphone, and I have just a very simple microphone. It was $20 off Amazon. Once again, nothing special. Or I'll use my computer audio. One thing I also do before having a podcast guest is I will tell them to close out all of the other things on their computer if they're doing it from their computer, or, turn on something so that no phone calls come through if they really want to do it from their phone. Making sure that I also visually record the podcast, because if it is absolute gold, I want to be able to use that content for more than just the podcast, because then I also have the visual, so I can also edit that and use it on YouTube, so that you are utilizing, not recycling, repurposing all of your content.
Smart.
Multi-purpose.
I know Jennifer Van Hecken, she's in our group. She hasn't come a whole lot, but she has Small Town Girl podcast, and she was saying that she has her studio in her master or primary closet. And I was thinking about it, I'm like, oh, that probably works great because the clothing all probably deadens the sound, and she's tucked away. So clearly it doesn't have to be anywhere fancy. And that was, I'm sure she wasn't interviewing people in person in her closet, but who does anything in person these days?
Yeah. I just like the idea of having a podcast because you get to talk to the coolest people, and no one's really telling you no when you're like, do you want to be on my podcast? They're like, yeah, sure. It's free. And I get to talk about my business and talk about myself, which then also leverages my audience, and then also leverages their audience. So then you hit double. And so you get to have some of the coolest conversations. Especially, I started reaching out to people outside of my general circle in West Michigan. So I still have to schedule it, but I was going to talk to someone who lives in Japan. They're from here, but they're living in Japan. A couple other people from Ohio, and it's starting to spread out. And so your circle of people in your network gets a lot larger.
I know too, the Rising Tide started a new list of people who are willing to be guest speakers. So that was kind of aimed for Tuesday Together meetings, but I wouldn't be surprised if those people are also open to podcasts.
Yeah, I bet.
Might be a good source.
Yeah.
Deb, what is your podcast?
It's on FemPro Business Society. Is the easiest way to get to it.
Okay.
But it's just women in business.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I did not know that you had a podcast.
It's among the million other things. And so it tends to be the thing that gets forgotten. And it isn't until I hear someone talk about it and they're like, oh my goodness, this was amazing. This was a hidden gem. And I'm like, oh, you know what? Yeah, it is. And then even thinking back to some of the conversations that I've had, I'm like, oh my gosh, this was gold. It's definitely a hidden gem.
Yeah, I'm gonna check yours out.
Oh, thank you. And I'm definitely, so this is going to be recorded and being posted in the group. So if anyone is interested in being a guest on my podcast, I am fully open to that.
Shameless plug.
And have either of you ever considered hosting a podcast or have been featured on one? They're fun.
It's so much, though, because I know Samantha was one of the people that asked if this was going to be recorded, because she has been talking about it. She got a microphone, I think, a year ago. Like her husband like bought her this microphone, and so she's been like, toying with the idea and stuff. So I was like, how can we reschedule the podcast?
Yes, actually, Samantha is one that I have on my list that I want to be a guest on my podcast.
I think, yeah.
We just got to schedule it out because she's just an incredible human.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's so much that she has done, I feel like, for moms around here, and lots of wisdom to share.
Yeah, because mommy is hard.
Yeah.
It gets lonely sometimes. And she definitely like bridged that gap of being like, it doesn't have to be lonely.
Mm-hmm.
I know I just saw a meme or whatever the other day that said, parenting hacks. There are no hacks. It's just hard. Get over it. It's going to be hard.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that was all of their discussion questions that we've been over. I'm going back
kind of
through here.
looking through the guide.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, they're saying you can even use the audio for Reels or TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I am all about repurposing and multi-using. That was it. I am all about multi-using the content. Like, if you're going to do it, make it worth it.
For sure.
Anything that you put out there, like, it's not a one-time thing. It lives out online and can continue working for you. Like even YouTube, like I think that YouTube is incredible for that too. It's more than social media because social media is very much like a span of 6 to 24 hours. That's how long content really lives on there. But like YouTube and podcasts and even blogs, if they're properly, tagged, they can keep working for you. So you're putting in that time, yes. But if you put it in wisely, like it's going to live longer.
That's a good point. That's more bang for your buck. I never really thought about how temporary. I mean, obviously I know like stories are temporary on Instagram, but it's from an advertising standpoint, you have such a small window to catch the people you're trying to get the attention of. If you use those other medias, you have a bigger chance of getting them.
And I know personally, like that's how I keep my sanity is thinking about that, working smarter, not harder.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as a mom, like running a business, like she's been running around and it's hard. So anything that I do, I want it to be worth my time.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, guys. Well, is there anything else podcast related or business related that you guys would like to talk about? Because I think we've covered the whole guide.
Yeah, I'm still trying to get my head in the game here. We just got back from spring break and sick dog and sick kids and head spinning. But I do have a bride, so that's good. So I will be in person lettering at the schoolhouse in Jenison, which is always fun.
Yeah.
It's basically a venue that used to be a schoolhouse, and they turned it into a event space, and there's chalkboards all over the place. But it's also a little tricky because I get a narrow, limited, 5-hour gap usually to do, literally 5 hours of lettering all over the place. So I'm excited to have something coming up finally.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's super exciting.
And then how about you, Sarah? Like, how has business been?
So I started, with this kind of like broad overall, like women empowerment, self-confidence type thing. And then in last August, I was like, I'm just going to try this whole like boudoir thing. Like I never really thought about doing this. And that is like where everything is coming from for me right now. All of my inquiries and stuff, I'm trying to do like I have like a private Facebook group, and then talk with content and stuff. So I'm like, okay, I got Facebook, I've got Instagram, I've got this. I haven't done any like sort of like advertising thing. I feel like kind of like a squirrel, it's like I do a little here, I do a little here, thing, and I gotta like bring it all together. And being home on medical leave now for like 6 weeks, I feel like obviously I'm nursing, but I can actually like sit down and like start like thinking about and more like organizing kind of like how I want to do all like do my advertising and like get all the stuff set up. So and finalizing stuff with even my business. I just was talking with someone about business insurance. So she does a lot, she said, for photographers and things. She used to be a photographer. So
who are you working with?
Angela
Shallow?
Yeah.
Yeah, she does mine. I love her.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I felt so bad. I totally flaked on the call. The call where I was gonna like, give her my credit card and stuff. I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to get everything done before I have surgery, and I totally forgot.
She's so good in like every aspect, and especially as a creative, I think she is a really, really good one to work with.
Good. Yeah.
So that was a good choice.
Thanks. Well, yeah, I started with a lawyer because I started with Nicole Sladek. Yeah. And then she referred me over to Angela because Angela said normally they do it the reverse way.
Yep.
So, yeah.
But it really, really helps to have your lawyer, your CPA, and your insurance agent all in the same bubble, that they all just talk to each other, that they have your best interest in mind. They're the experts in that area. Like, just let them work together.
Right.
I've already given the permission where I'm like, whatever you say is best. I'm just going to trust you.
Who's your CPA?
I use Abby Selby.
Oh,
okay. Like, I've honestly worked with some really bad CPAs. And then I got to Abby and I was like super cautious, where I'm like, all right, I'm waiting for this to drop. And then it didn't. And they just kept surprising me. I'm like, okay, I can breathe now. Like, I know you have this handled.
Mm-hmm. My father-in-law is a CPA, and he's done tons of stuff with like businesses, usually more like corporations and stuff. But I need to, if you can give me her contact info, because I've been having issues trying to register for sales tax to be able to charge that, because it kicks you over to another website first, and it's not liking what I'm putting in there at all. And I've tried it so many times. I'm like, I really need to get this.
Okay. Yes, I can absolutely send that over to you.
Thank you.
Sarah, have you heard of, I believe it's a book, but it was a podcast I listened to, Sonia Renee Taylor?
I know the name.
Yeah, her thing is the story of the body is not an apology.
Oh, yeah.
And I listened to her being interviewed. Gosh, it might have been on Goop, Paltrow's Goop. I can't remember. And it just, when I think of boudoir photography and just, I just wonder if it would be a good source of inspiration for people to, take that plunge and think differently about themselves for you.
Yeah. So ironically, a friend of mine, she asked me, she goes, have you read, I think it's Burned Out? And I'm like, yep, have that. Got about halfway through it and then started reading something else, Story of My Life. And so she's like, what about The Body's Not an Apology? And I said, no. So I think she's sending me that so I can read it on my leave. So yeah, that's what I was like, you mentioned, I was like, I know that name. That's why, because I think I'm getting that book.
Yeah, it just was the way and I can't even begin to touch on how she's very eloquent, but how she puts it in, I mean, it kind of goes to deeper issues too about, rape and things like all this stuff. But I just, oh my gosh, it just kind of gave me chills to think about, and just all the things that we've adopted as being women and don't even it's almost like, white privilege. It's almost like female disadvantage, that we just haven't even realized we're a given thing to us, that we shouldn't feel that way. We weren't born feeling that way, and we've learned to feel that way, and we've learned to be normal, and that's okay.
Yeah, I had my hair and makeup artist flat out told me. So she was doing more ended up being more like headshots and stuff that she was really doing for me, because that's what everyone was using them for. And she flat out told me, she's like, I cannot get behind boudoir. You have to find someone else for that. Right. And so the more she and I did personal branding for her. And the more we talked about it, I realized it's because she has issues with her own body image. And so she just does not understand why somebody else would do that. And because the more I do this, I find it so interesting. Yeah, some people are there's a gift aspect to it, but everybody comes to me and they're like, this is for me. I need this. I need to see myself this way. And it is very powerful. Huh?
Which with you saying, Sarah, I was just going to say, with you saying, Sarah, that this last year, boudoir has been the biggest hit for you. That's not surprising in any way, because we all want to feel better. And I love the body positivity that's been a lot more accepted as of late. I personally am I totally want to do a pregnancy boudoir.
Right.
Of course, super modest, because someday, she might see them. But
right.
Yeah, I totally want to do that for me, because I want to see myself in that way.
Exactly.
Where it's no, this is a powerful thing.
And I think sometimes when you're pregnant, you're more in touch with the amazing, powerful things your body can do, because it's growing a human. It's an amazing, powerful thing. But we're always amazing and powerful. And we need to remember that and embrace that.
Amber, remind me, do you do signs? And is that what you do? Okay. Because I did want to talk to you about, I want to get, I live in an HOA, so I obviously, and I shoot out of my home, so I can't have permanent signage. But I saw somebody had posted, what they do is they put a sign out on their front porch when they have a session, one, so clients can find them. And then for me, I'm thinking in the summer, so kids aren't knocking on my door. But when they see that, they'll know the kids aren't here. They can't knock and ring the doorbell 50 million times. So I just want to talk to you about, so I want to get with you about something for that.
Yeah, my source for signs, well, when I made it myself, you would probably want a little easel that can stand up on its own. So I would have you find whatever you want. And I can send you, there's it's actually a restaurant website that has a lot of good ones that are made for outdoor use. And then you could either buy new and just ship it to me, and then I could do the sign on it. But we would basically come up with the lettering and the design before I start anything, kind of work that way, because that would be a tricky one. You'd probably want it to kind of give a pretty interesting, firm message, but also have your branding. We could have your logo and all that good stuff. But yeah, that's definitely something we could work on.
All right, ladies, I'm going to go ahead and peace out, but I will be sharing this recording and the list of 4 ways to start a podcast in the group.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Good chatting with you. Bye.
Bye.